Confession 1: The Hidden Criminal Past. One of the most unsettling confessions came from a user who admitted that they had been involved in serious criminal activity years earlier but had never been caught. What made this post particularly disturbing was not just the confession itself, but the cold way it was written. The person described breaking into homes during their late teens and early 20s. They explained how it started as a way to get thrills and quick cash, but eventually became a habit they couldn't stop. The details they shared about their process were chilling. They would spend days observing neighborhoods, noting when families left their homes for work or school. They even mentioned avoiding houses with dogs and memorizing police patrol patterns. What struck readers most was that this wasn't written as a regretful account. It was almost like a diary entry from someone reminiscing about an old hobby. The person admitted they had quit years ago, settled down, and now lived a normal life. They had a job, a family, and no one around them knew what they had done. What made this confession so disturbing wasn't only the crimes themselves, but the idea that someone could walk among us, looking ordinary, yet hiding such a past. The anonymity of Reddit gave this person an outlet to speak the truth, but for readers, it was a reminder of how much people conceal. This post sparked hundreds of comments, with some horrified, others skeptical, and a few strangely supportive. The scariest thought was that the person might have been telling the truth, and if so, there were real families out there who had no idea who had once crept through their homes. Confession 2: The Dark Obsession. Another confession that shook Reddit readers came from someone who admitted to having a long-standing obsession with a coworker. On the surface, it sounded like a typical story of unrequited love, but the details revealed something far more troubling. The poster described how they followed their coworker outside of work, learned where they lived, and even memorized their schedule. They knew what grocery store they shopped at, when they went jogging, and which friends they spent time with. This wasn't just casual interest, it was stalking, pure and simple. What made the confession worse was the way the person justified their behavior. They insisted they weren't dangerous and would never hurt their coworker, but their words betrayed a deep obsession. They admitted to entering the coworker's apartment once, using a copied key they had stolen from her desk. They didn't steal anything. They just sat in the apartment for a while, looking around, soaking in the feeling of being in her personal space. Readers were horrified. Many begged the poster to get psychological help, while others pointed out that this was a crime. The chilling part was the lack of remorse. The person wrote that they felt closer to their coworker because of their actions, even though the coworker had no idea any of this was happening. The confession highlighted one of the darkest aspects of anonymity online. People can admit to behaviors that cross boundaries most of us can't imagine. It left readers with the disturbing realization that sometimes the people we casually interact with in our workplaces or neighborhoods could be harboring dangerous fixations. Confession 3: The Secret Family Betrayal. Some confessions disturb not because of crime or obsession, but because of the emotional devastation they describe. One Redditor confessed to a long-term secret that had been eating away at them for years. They admitted to having an affair with their sibling's spouse. The story unfolded in a way that seemed almost impossible to stop reading. The poster explained that it began after a family gathering where too much alcohol was involved. What should have been a regrettable one-time mistake turned into years of secret meetings and hidden emotions. Both parties continued the affair even as they attended family holidays, shared meals, and celebrated milestones together. What made the confession so disturbing wasn't just the betrayal itself, but the way the poster described the guilt. They claimed to feel immense shame, yet they couldn't stop. Every time they saw their sibling smile or talk about their happy marriage, they were filled with both guilt and a strange sense of ownership. The duality of love and betrayal was almost unbearable to read. Readers responded with anger, disgust, and sadness. Many pointed out how the truth, if revealed, would shatter not only the marriage, but the entire family structure. The poster never said whether they planned to confess in real life, but the story haunted those who read it. This confession stands out because it showed how the darkest secrets don't always involve crime or violence. Sometimes what disturbs us most is the reminder of how fragile trust can be, and how easily the people closest to us can hide devastating betrayals. Confession for the guilty accident. Perhaps one of the most harrowing confessions was from a person who admitted to causing a fatal accident and never telling anyone. The post began with the simple sentence, "I killed someone and no one knows." From there, it spiraled into a detailed account of something that sounded like it had been weighing on them for years. The poster explained that as a teenager, they had been driving recklessly late at night. They struck a pedestrian on a dark road but panicked and drove away. At the time, there were no cameras and they were never caught. The news reported it as a hit and run, and the victim's family was left devastated. The poster described how they had thought about turning themselves in hundreds of times, but fear always stopped them. They built a life, got married, had kids, and tried to move on. But every time they saw a story about a hit and run or drove past the area where it happened, they were consumed with guilt. What disturbed readers most was the sheer weight of the secret. This was someone who had lived for years with blood on their hands, while the victim's family never got closure. The post ended with the chilling admission that writing on Reddit was the closest they had ever come to confessing the truth. Comments poured in, with people urging the poster to come forward, while others doubted they ever would. The anonymity of Reddit gave them the safety to say what they couldn't tell anyone in their real life, but it left readers unsettled, imagining the pain of the family who never knew who had taken their loved one away. Why these confessions disturb us. Each of these confessions is disturbing in its own way, but they share a common thread. They reveal the darkness people carry in silence. Whether it's a hidden crime, a dangerous obsession, a family betrayal, or a guilty accident, these stories remind us that anonymity strips away the masks people wear in everyday life. The unsettling part is not just the actions themselves, but the ordinariness of the people behind them. These aren't monsters in the shadows, they're people with jobs, families, and daily routines. The person sitting next to you on the bus, working in the cubicle across from you, or even sharing a holiday dinner could be hiding a truth they'll never speak aloud, except anonymously to strangers on the internet. Final thoughts. Reddit's confession posts are a mix of humor, embarrassment, guilt, and darkness. But the most disturbing ones stay with you long after you've closed the tab. They raise uncomfortable questions about morality, secrecy, and the hidden sides of human nature. Reading them is like staring into a mirror that shows not just who we are, but what we're capable of if pushed into the shadows of guilt and anonymity. The four confessions discussed here are among the most unsettling ever shared on Reddit. They aren't just stories, they're reminders that the darkest secrets often live right beneath the surface of everyday life.